As a long-term dividend investor with a dividend stock portfolio valued at around $492,000 and a consistent almost $2,000 of monthly dividend income coming in, I'm going to explain to you why I'm considering selling every single last position in this portfolio and putting every single dollar into the SCHD ETF. Now, the SCHD ETF, or the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF, is an investment fund that tracks the performance of the Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index. This ETF is composed of 100 high-yielding dividend U.S. stocks. And while there's many obvious reasons on why SCHD, in my opinion, is the #1 ETF to invest into, if not one of the best investments of all time, let's break down a few of my favorite things that SCHD has to offer. Number 1 is the dividend income. SCHD ETF invests in high dividend yielding stocks, which means that investors can earn a steady stream of income from dividends that are paid out by the companies in the portfolio. This can be especially attractive to investors who are looking for a reliable stream of income to supplement their bills or hopefully to cover all of their expenses come retirement time. Number 2 is diversification. SCHD provides investors with exposure to a diversified portfolio, stocks across different sectors, which can help reduce risks during a volatile market and can help investors sleep well at night, knowing that their portfolio is most likely going to be just fine no matter what type of market is ahead. Number 3, SCHD's expense ratio is extremely cheap. With a 0.06%, it's significantly lower than the average expense ratio for actively managed mutual funds. This means investors like myself can keep a lot more of our money and reinvest that money and let every penny compound to keep growing bigger and bigger. Number 4, the long-term performance of SCHD has been very consistent. Over the long term, historically, SCHD has outperformed non-paying dividend stocks, and SCHD has one of the best track records of any ETF since its inception in 2011. So now that we went over a few of the positive things that SCHD has to offer, it's really hard to put any other stock or any other ETF up against it, especially for someone like myself. I'm currently 30 years old and I'm trying to build a long-term dividend growth portfolio that's not only going to just cover all my bills in the future, but also hopefully allow me to live a life of nothing but freedom. So to see how much I could earn long-term if I were to liquidate all of my positions and put all the money into SCHD and let time and the power of compounding do its thing, we have right here the dividend calculator. Now, in this dividend calculator, we have 6,656 shares of SCHD, which is the amount that I could purchase with around $492,000. Now, SCHD's initial dividend yield is somewhere of around 3.7, 3.8%. The expected annual dividend increase amount could change, of course, but let's put 10.5%. The expected annual share price appreciation per year, let's say 3%. The annual contribution is going to be 0, meaning that I'm not going to add in another dollar other than all the reinvested dividends from this point on out. And we'll still see a massive compounding effect happen. Now, years invested 30 because I'm currently 30 years old, and hopefully I won't have to touch this money for around 20, 30, hopefully even longer. So after inputting all that into the dividend calculator, we can see exactly how things are going to look. So right off the bat, year number 1, we are earning around $18,497 in annual dividends, which isn't all that high considering it's almost $500,000, and you could definitely earn higher dividends someplace else, like JETB or any other higher dividend ETF or stock out there. But keep in mind, the amount that SCHD raises their dividends is going to be the real factor here. And that's what's really going to turn this amount of money into a compounding machine long term. So after year 1, you're left with around $522,000 from the original $492,000. Now next, year number 2, we're up to $21,000 in annual dividends, which is a nice little increase, but still nothing all that crazy. And when it comes to compounding, it's going to take some time. The first few years might seem slow, but as the machine, as the snowball starts to pick up some speed, you're going to see how fast these numbers increase. So skipping a few down by year number 5, we're at $31,000 of annual dividend income, which again, still isn't all that high. I would be 5 years into this journey with SCHD now, probably around 35 years old or so. What's interesting though, even though the dividends aren't that high yet, the overall balance of the portfolio would be somewhere of around $682,000 in theory. Now by year number 10, the dividends are now growing much quicker. or up to $66,000 of annual dividend income. At this point, I'd be around 40 with around $1 million invested into SCHD and just shy of 10,000 shares, which is also incredible. By year number 15, skipping a few down, I'd be around 45 years old with $152,000 of annual dividend income. Now, by this point, this amount of money would most likely cover most, if not all, of my bills, hopefully, and most importantly, allow me the freedom that I'm striving for. The portfolio balance at this point would be around $1.7 million. 5 years later, now in theory, I'd be 50 years old with $405,000 of annual dividend income. Now, at this point, I'd be around 50 years old with over $400,000 of annual income and a portfolio value of over $3.2 million. Now skip 5 more years. I'd be 55 years old with $1.3 million of annual dividend income. This is some serious dividend income with a portfolio value of $7.8 million. And finally, at the bottom of the list, 60 years old at this point with $5.6 million a year of annual dividend income and a portfolio balance of over $25.5 million. So now you guys can see what the power of compounding actually does. But I understand that some newer investors might not have all that much money to start with. So let's go ahead and input some numbers that are more common into this dividend calculator. For this example with the dividend calculator in SCHD, this is something that a newer investor could most likely achieve. 100 shares starting of SCHD, which would cost just over $7,000. An annual contribution of $12,000, which means around $250 a week, would need to be purchased of SCHD consistently. DRIP would also be turned on, and the time invested would be 30 years once again. So if we go ahead and calculate this is what we're going to see. By year number 1, this dividend investor is earning around $277 per year in dividend income. By year number 2, already up to $800 a year. And this is because in this example, the investor is contributing $12,000 a year from their job or let's say some side hustle, which is going to juice the portfolio and get it really moving much quicker. By year number 5, this dividend investor is up to $3,000 in annual dividend income, but already up to $79,000 of a portfolio balance. And this is from a starting balance of just around $7,000. Now by year number 10, this investor is already going to be past $11,000 a year, almost at that $1,000 per month goal of dividend income, which is great, and a portfolio balance of $189,000. By year number 15, this investor would be at $34,000 a year, which is more than some people's annual salary, and the portfolio balance over $390K. By year number 20, this portfolio would be at $101,000 of annual dividend income and almost $840,000 worth of value. By year number 25, this dividend investor would be at $348,000 a year of dividend income and over $2 million net worth. And by year number 30, all the way at the bottom, this portfolio, which just started off years and years ago in theory at 100 shares of SCHD, would be valued at just under $7 million and earning this investor over $1.5 million in dividends per year. So as you see, you don't need to start with a massive amount of money. It's more important that the investor stays with an investment long term and continues to let the snowball grow and let the power of compounding do its thing. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like in the video and subscribe for more. Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.